Yesterday we went back to our very first raspberry hedge that we had planted, must have been about 10 years ago. It's been a little bit eaten down by hares over the winter, but it's been spreading into the woods behind it, lots of extra plants all over the place, and so we thought we would dig some of these up to start a new raspberry hedge at the new house. Now, these were ones that were given to us by friends who found that their raspberries were spreading like crazy and they wanted someone to take all these extra raspberries. And we've done the same thing for other people over the years, and we've probably given away hundreds and hundreds of raspberry starts. So it's kind of a tradition. So I always tell people you should never have to buy raspberry starts in Alaska. If you're patient, somebody's going to give you some because they spread so readily that they cause problems for people, and you can go help someone solve their problem. So we dug up little raspberry plants for about 8.5 minutes. That's about as long as it took us to fill this box. It's not a tremendous number of plants, but it's enough to get us a start because we know that they are going to spread like crazy once we get them in and get them established. So I like to just dig them out. I just make 3 little stomps, and that gives me a little triangular cutout. And then when I transplant them, I do the same thing. I make a little tiny triangle, and I put the transplant right into the new triangle. After that, we went and checked out a second raspberry hedge that we had made. This one tends to thrive a lot more and give us much more fruit and much larger fruit. And that's probably because we planted it in a fenced-in area, so it doesn't get eaten down by wildlife as much. And in this fenced-in area is a place where we used to have compost bins many years ago. So the soil is much, much better, has a lot more uh, good nutrition in it compared to just random woodland soil that you find in this area. And very similar to the first area, there's all kinds of places that the raspberries are trying to spread. We might come and dig more of this later on and make more raspberry hedges, but today we had a very limited amount of time in which to dig these up. We were doing this while waiting for our older daughter's art lesson to finish, and it's only a half-hour lesson, so we kind of hurried up to get there, dug up the plants, and then went back home to transplant them. This other raspberry hedge is quite the vibrant and healthy one, and this is about what it looked like, I think, back in spring of 2020. Wasn't bearing fruit just yet, but you can see just how big and healthy the plants are. And it's the same genetic material as the first little hedge that we visited, the same genetic material that we're going to be transplanting to the new location. So I'm going to find a spot in this orchard here for all of these raspberries. We already have some high bush cranberries in here, various apple trees. We have a couple of haskaps that I transplanted. You can see one right there. I'll call them honeyberries. In fact, it's starting to leaf out. How about that? So this is quite the fruit growing spot. I think I'm going to put the raspberries along this fence here. There's not really anything else happening in this area. So the first thing I need to do is to loosen up the ground a little bit. It's going to be hard because the ground is still frozen, but just go and give it a test. going to be hard, but I should be able to get them in. So I tend to dig triangular spots. That seems to be an easy way for the roots to reach out and grab on, and it's worked pretty well for me so far, no matter what kind of thing I'm transplanting, whether it be bushes, shrubs, trees, runners, whatever. All right, let's try some new spots. Still a bit frozen here. Maybe I will scoot over a bit. Try it here where the ground is a tiny bit higher. You can see in here that this is not the best time for transplanting, but it's supposed to rain today and or tomorrow, so it's actually a pretty good time for transplanting. Usually we'll do these in April, but a little bit later in April. So they're all planted now. You can see the different places that they are put. Kind of just generally along this fence line. This one comes in a ways. And they basically are where they are because those were the spots I had the easiest time digging. I'm not expecting a whole lot out of them this year, just to get established, grow and spread. Maybe we'll get some fruit next year, and the year after, and the year after, and then we can use those new plants as they're spreading to make more of these raspberry hedges, because occasionally there's a fungus that will strike these raspberries, and you don't want to have all of your raspberries in the same place, where if one of your patches gets fungus, your other patches are far enough away that it might not spread to those, and you'll still get your fruit out of those ones. Similarly, that's why I have orchards with, 3, 4, 5, 6 apple trees, because just in case a moose breaks into one, I don't lose all of my apple trees, just the ones in that orchard. So it's just kind of a way of
being resilient.